This video was made possible by the EA Creator Network. Hello everyone. Welcome on in. I'm Velvet. Thanks for joining me today in The Sims 4 for a speed build. And today I am taking on a building challenge. So this is a shell challenge, and this was hosted by Alchemistic Sims, who's a good friend of mine, and they presented a birthday shell challenge. So happy birthday in retrospect to Vinny. We celebrated at the time, but this is coming out a little bit after their birthday. And basically the challenge with a shell challenge is to take a shell of the building and then create something with it. So I decided to create a modern home with this, and it was going to have a landscaping and gardening focus. So you'll see that is a strong part of this build, is that I wanted to have a really cool gardening area, which is actually going underneath that glass area right there. And the landscaping around the back is rather a highlight of the build, and it's something that probably was the main part of the build that I wanted to share with you today, which is fortunate because I had a little bit of a boo-boo with recording this, and I recorded all of the beautiful outside and the very start of the inside, and then when I hit record on the last section of the decorating, it didn't record. So yeah, I didn't obviously click it properly or something like that happened. So you get to see the bedrooms and the main entertainment area on the tour, but you don't get to see me, unfortunately, decorating them, which is kind of sad. And I wish that I could, but unfortunately, that is just what happened. But the main thrust for me and the main focus for me with this build was the landscaping around the back. And I captured all of that, and I wanted to show you guys the landscaping that I did for this build, because yeah, that's something that I really wanted to spend some time on, and yeah, I think it came out looking pretty good, pretty decent. So that was the main thing I wanted to show you with that anyway. And there's some pretty bedrooms and stuff, but the landscaping, that's where it's kind of at for this build. That was what it was all about. So I'm building this on the Parkshore lot in Willow Creek. So this is a modern version of Parkshore, basically. So this is a modern house for the Parkshore lot, which is a 40 by 30 lot. I used assorted packs, so this is not a limited pack challenge. I didn't want to limit myself with this shell. And yeah, I think I created something pretty cool. I mean, you're just kind of limited a little bit when it comes to shells, just because the shape is what the shape is. And you've got to work and manipulate that as best as you can. But still, that shape is always going to be that base shape. So, ordinarily I probably wouldn't have a house in this shape. But that's the point of this challenge, right? Is to do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. And I feel like I did in this case. And, that was a lot of fun. And I'm working with some of my favorite modern colors here. So I'm using a lot of the greens with the blacks, and then the mid browns as well. So, I feel like those sort of really work nicely together. I used a lot of this little base game plant, this little flat base game plant that has like the triangle version of it as well, and like a rounded corner version, and use that all around the place because I wanted to bring like quite a lot of green into the exterior of this build as sort of like a contrast color on its own. So you can sort of see there, this is the growing together mid brown. I love this wallpaper so much. Would I be so bold as to say it's my favorite wallpaper? I'm not sure if I'll be that bold, but I will be saying it is one of my very favorites. I love it to pieces. It's just that perfect shade, and it's like such a nice siding design in the wood, and it's just so pretty. And I'm using black as well because, I've just wanted to use all of my favorite colors in this build because, yeah, I just wanted to do something fun that I was going to enjoy. Essentially, that's basically what it comes down to. I'm going to have fun with a shell challenge, and I'm going to enjoy myself, and I'm going to use some of my favorite things with it, and going to go wild on the landscaping, do something different there, and yeah, just basically have some fun. So that's the point of a shell challenge like this, as well as challenging yourself as a builder, is to have some fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? I don't know. but I did have fun, so that's the main thing. So I didn't really use a budget or anything like that either. So this is definitely not a budget. I think, let me check. In terms of the bedrooms, I think this is a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom. Let my notes load eventually, and let's see. Where are we? Parkshore modern home, 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 40 by 30 lot, 271,034 simoleons. I do not go cheap on a lot of my houses. If I'm working on a budget, then, you know, that's fine. But most of my houses, I will say, generally tend to be like 200, 300, no, 100 to 200,000. If I'm going, you know, all out and decorating it properly and that sort of thing and not really holding back on it. So, yeah, it's one of those things. And I really had fun with it. And just building a lot with black just makes me happy. I love building with black. It's one of my favorite colors to build with. I think because you can kind of use it as a jumping off point for a whole lot of other different colors, and you can sort of like, you know, build a lot of different combinations around that black. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with designing with the black.
And I feel like for me, when it comes to like a lot of modern builds, they do tend to be sort of black and like wooden colors, or white and like wooden colors, or like, you know, metal. So, you know, I feel like black and white are sort of like those solid basic colors that you do with a modern build, and then you sort of mix in other things around there. Natural sort of sustainable woods and things like that are very much, you know, your modern aesthetic as well. So depending on what you're kind of doing and your approach, but I think black and white are a really good basis when you are building a modern home, and then you can kind of build your colors around it. We are on to the landscaping. So I think you can already tell this is going to be a doozy, right? I've already made a big hole in the ground, and I've got like this giant curved pool and this big, like, you know, space for landscaping and bits and pieces like that. So I went all out on the landscaping. Not going to deny it. It was my intention the whole time. It was, yeah, because I always like to, when I can, really just think about a shell and a shell challenge and how I'm going to approach it and what I want to build with it. And I knew that I wanted to build a modern home, and I knew that I wanted to go hard on the landscaping. So I did have to think about what size lot I wanted to do, and I felt like a 40 by 30 lot was going to be a really good size for this. I was able to fit in like the landscaping that I wanted, as well as the house, and really, you know, just make it sort of quite cohesive as far as the landscaping went. And yeah, so basically I'm using a lot of platforms and different levels. So we start with our open basement down here, and that sort of goes up into the pool, and along the side of the pool, because it's an open basement, I can have the pool, like, you know, you can look in on the pool from this open basement area, which I think is really funky. And then I've got a raised platform area as well. So on the raised platform area, I'm actually going to have like some seating, so you can sort of see that coming in here with the umbrellas over the top. And then the other thing that I'm going to add to this area, and that does evolve a little bit over time as well as I figure things out, but there's a in the Snowy Escape pack, there's a large, is it an onsen pool, I think, maybe? It's some sort of pool. And it's a large pool, and it has like a little waterfall coming down the side. So you get one of these in this section as well. So it's not an actual swimming pool. It's not a spa pool either. It's like, I'm sure it's like an onsen pool or something like that. But it's got like quite a modern kind of look to it. There it is there. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted something quite funky to go in this space, and something that's a little bit different that I don't use very often, and I really do not use that item very often, and I should use it more because it's really cool. But yes, that area got a little bit of fiddling around. I tried different things, and you know, you will see it kind of evolve. If I skip over something, is because it eventually gets deleted, so there's no point really, you know, digging into it. But yeah, the whole pool thing, I decorated all of the underneath of it all black, just so it creates like a darker kind of effect on the water. When you look in the water, it's like got a darker effect, and it's all sort of lit up with lights everywhere. And I think I add like pool floats and stuff in there too. So yeah, all sorts of things. This is something I debated leaving this in because I wasn't sure. I didn't end up using this. So this is like a faux kind of post swimming shower to have outside, and I built it on a debug pole, and I was trying out different things and whether or not I liked it, and I just like hummed and hard about that, and I was like, nah, I don't know if I should keep it. I ended up not keeping it
So this did end up getting yeeted, but I thought it was quite an interesting idea to show you guys. And maybe that's something you want to think about using. I don't think it was functional, although I didn't end up, because I decided I didn't want to keep it, I didn't end up playing around with it to try and get it functional. So it might be something you have to play around with to get it all functional again, or to actually get it working. But I didn't actually get it working at that point, but I didn't play around with it too much, as I said. So it might be possible, it might not. But it ended up getting deleted. So one of those things. So this is the basement sort of area that I wanted to build. And this is like, I wanted to have an entertainment area where you could look down or look into the pool as people are swimming. So like having those different levels. And yeah, I thought it'd be something fun and like have a really cool outdoor kitchen and sort of like a bar area and a seating area. So this is really, really good for entertainment and having a lot of Sims over for a few parties and that sort of thing. They can have a really good time outside. And there's a fireplace in there, so if it's feeling a little bit cooler in the in the nighttime or whatever, then you can add that fireplace in there and light that and feel all cozy by the fireplace. So I wanted to do something a little bit different with the landscaping and try and push myself a little bit more with doing something a lot more deliberate in how it's kind of designed, if you know what I mean. Like I quite often, I will landscape on the fly and it's, a few plants here and there or whatever. But I just wanted to be a little bit more deliberate about, thinking of a space and then how that could be used by the Sims in that space. And yeah, just making something that looked really cool at the same time. So this is what came out of my brain and it's what it turned into essentially. So I feel like having the packs that were like having a wide assortment of packs really helped me with this as well, just because it meant that I had a lot more options in terms of things that I could do with the different areas in the build. So with the fireplace, that's something that looks a little different, and we've got the dream home decorator couches that I can put on a curve, stuff like that, little candles and plants and things like that everywhere. And I love that dark wood as well that I used. I think that's Jungle Adventure. And yeah, it's just like a really nice contrast against the beautiful blue from the pool. So I really love that little contrast. And then against the black as well, with and the green. So the black and the green are just popped together as well. I use those spa day planters absolutely everywhere, but they're just one of those things that is quite handy to use and can just add that little essence of decoration to little different areas of the build. Like I used it under windows, and then I used it around the edge of the pool as well. Just just to give like the sense of green against the blue and the black again. So just using those little contrast colors around the place, and I think that worked a treat. Oh, and then I was like, oh, I need some tables in here. So I slipped these little tables into the corner of the build and beside the kitchen. And I thought that worked quite nicely. And then sort of decorated them with some lights around the place. I skipped over a few bits and pieces like the light, like placing the lighting and that sort of thing. But I placed lots of lighting around the outside. So it should light up really nicely at night time as well. So I feel like this would work really nicely for, for entertaining and for Sims. I'm probably less of a kids home, I feel like, although I did put, I think, a kids room in here. Maybe it was a teenage room. Anyway, yeah, I didn't really specifically build this as a kids home, although I don't think there's going to be a problem for the kids, in this lot. They've got a swimming pool they can run around. If you wanted to add like little bits and pieces in for kids, I feel like you could do as well. That's me just putting a tree into a planter because I wanted something a little different there in the corner. And I feel like, a tree is a nice way to add like a shady element rather than just your, typical umbrella, mixing it up a little bit. And those bamboo planters from Grown Together, oh man, I use those. They're a fantastic item. One of my favorite outside planters is those items from Growing Together. This is the fencing that I'm doing. So what I'm actually creating here is a fence on a foundation, or sorry, a half wall on a foundation, and then I'm using that as a fence. So you can sort of see it just gives you like a little bit of something different when it comes to fencing when you actually create fencing on a foundation like that. The only issue with that is that it does not connect to the other items. So you've got to have a way to basically fill that gap between the one grid gap between the fence and either the house or whatever other, item you've got that space in between, just because you are absolutely going to have a space there. It's not going to connect because of different heights of things, but you can work around that. And I'm using the monolith item from Sparday, and that's actually, when you size that down, it's actually a really good little blocker in between the fence and the whatever item it is. And there you can use plants. I used plants in a different area as well just to create that. But it just means that I could have a fence that was something a little different, that matched the house, that you're not going to see otherwise in the game as an actual fence. This is something that I've created, and yeah, it just meant that I could have something different, which is fun. And I use like these little fountain rows in around the house just to shape the paths and just add, like a cool little water feature out there in the world. So why not? Why not, I say. So this is me just adding in some different ideas as to what I wanted to do around the rest of the landscaping around the place, because I did want to have the landscaping being very deliberate. Like, it has been very deliberately landscaped, and everything kind of has its point in being there. So yeah, that was definitely my intention as I was building this, that I wanted to have it very all clearly landscaped, and there wasn't going to be like little wild patches or anything like that. This is going to be very designed, because this comes with Sims who wanted to have or did actually design their own kind of thing as far as what they wanted their gardens to look like, and they went very thoroughly right through the whole lot and designed it the way that they wanted it to be designed. As you can see there, I am using those bamboo planters like everywhere, but they work. And then I'm using those Sparday flower box or grass boxes, as the case may be. I'm using those all around the place as well. So sort of use those things in repetition, but I feel like that's effective because it's keeping a consistent look to the build. Using the little love struck numbers around the place. So I think I used it on the side of the pillar as well as on the front of the house there. I would think I was going to put it on the letterbox, but I couldn't quite get that to work, so I ended up putting it on the pillar. Although you can put it on the letterbox. I'm not too sure why I didn't put it on the letterbox. I guess I didn't need both. So it was either on the pillar or the letterbox, actually, now that I think about it. I didn't need it on a pillar and then the letterbox, because that was going to be overkill, so it was like one or the other. So I opted for the pillar. And I use that sort of that grey pebble around the place as well as a bit of a sort of a lighter contrast around the place, and used it as sort of like, your contemporary garden, how you have those contemporary gardens that have like your grasses and your spiky plants and that sort of thing, and they're on those grey pebbles around the place. That was the kind of look I was going for. So I feel like, we managed that okay. And I wanted to do something different with the windows around the front, so definitely did that. And lots of glass. It is modern, so, we're going to have lots of glass and lots of views coming out there. And I feel like a lot of indoor-outdoor flow as well, because I did add a few balconies and stuff in there. So, yeah, I feel like there's lots of space to be outdoors and having a good time. Definitely with this build, there's a lot more outdoor than there is indoor. Although it's not a small house, so, there's a decent amount of space in this house, but there's definitely more outside space than there is indoor. So let's just say that. And yeah, I just wanted to stick with the whole modern aesthetic as we head towards the inside of the build. And I'm sticking with the main colors that I'm doing for this build, which is sort of browns and blacks and blues. So those are the main colors that I just carry on throughout the build, with the exception mainly being the bedrooms. The bedrooms can kind of be a little bit more individual and go whatever direction, but yeah. So this area here that I'm playing around with, I was playing around with doors, trying to work out what size door I wanted. And then I wanted to create like a hot tub area, like a little romantic hot tub area. And I think this comes off the side of the master bedroom, I'm pretty sure. And then I use these wonderful planters from Businesses and Hobbies just to create that sort of romantic green. I mean, again, we're just using plants as a contrast color in this build all over the place. And yeah, I just use those planters everywhere and just made it feel very enclosed and romantic and pretty and all that sort of thing. So we've got pretty lights all around the place and lots of greenery, and like, you know, just to add that little sense of privacy, like your own little oasis, or your own little jungle spot where you're bathing out there. And I thought these hanging those little tools off the side of the plant was a good idea. If you need to hang anything off the side of anything, like I've done there, all you just need to do is make sure if you've got a wall behind it, just delete that wall behind it so you don't have those items sticking to the wall, and then you can kind of free float them using the Alt key, and yeah, just place them as you need to. Free place with the, you know, Control 9 or 9 to lift them up, and hold down Alt to free place it wherever and float the item into the right place. Obviously, you need BB Move Objects on to be able to do that, because you can't do anything like that without it. That's the beauty of that cheat, is it just gives you a whole lot more freedom to build in more creative ways, and yeah, I love that. Not that it's an essential, you don't need to have that cheat, but it's nice to have. It's a nice little perk. So in this area here, this is going to be our gardening area. So I did want to make this very gardening forward. So not only with the landscaping, but with the thought of gardening as a whole hobby. So I created a very large top floor kind of greenhouse area. So lots of little gardening bits and pieces. I did heaps of these hydroponic planters, and lots of the freestanding eco lifestyle plant holders, plant growers, plant thingies, planters might be the right word. Yeah, I've got a whole lot of those as well, and just, yeah, made it very green, and yeah, just a cute little area for gardening. So if you've got a sim who really loves gardening, then this is going to be really good for that sim, because there's lots of space for them to grow lots of things. Although I feel like if you wanted to grow maybe apple trees or something like that in that area, that might be a little tricky. I'm not sure that they will be okay under that ceiling, so you might have to like lift that ceiling up to being a medium, or sorry, the walls up to being a medium height wall, because they are a small height wall, and I feel like that can be problematic with like apples and stuff, so apple trees and stuff, so you might have to increase the wall height. And then this is the last section of our build, so I'm going to be building in this area here, and then the rest of the interior we'll have it. I'll leave you to have a look at on tour, because yeah, unfortunately you don't get to see me build those, because whoopsies with the old recording button. Anyway, this is the kitchen. So I went with a lovely black kitchen because I couldn't help myself. I was building with black, okay? I couldn't help myself. I had to build a black kitchen. I couldn't stop myself. It's like, it was the perfect opportunity. Why would I say no? And I'm using the Life and Death kitchen set as well with that. It's such a lovely kitchen set. It's ever since Life and Death came out, it's just been my go-to kitchen, because it's just so pretty, and I love the black and gold on it as well. It's just gorgeous. This is me just getting all of my clutter out here, so all ready to go out into the bench and be cluttered around the place and add my little items in where I need to. The kitchen clutter kit is obviously an absolute delight for that. So, you know, you can give yourself a really nice lived-in looking kitchen with lots of little bits of clutter. And some of it you can use as well, like the grocery bags you can pop stuff in, and the cereal you can eat out of, and the cookie jar you can eat from as well. So I love the fact that some of that clutter is actually functional too, because it gives it more of a point to be there, right? So the kitchen is black on black, and then I sort of had to figure out what I wanted to do to balance the colors out. So I kind of felt like I needed a blue wallpaper in behind here just to add some balance. And in behind this half wall, I'm going to be adding in our dining area. So I created like a little dining zone in there, and then it's going to be like on the other side of that half wall, I'm going to pop in an entrance area. So I think when I built this, I'm pretty sure the Grange Mudroom kit was not long out, so it would have been pretty new, I think, when I built this. So I definitely got to use the Grange Mudroom kit, which is the kit that I absolutely love. I mean, look at that with the dark brown floor and that lovely sort of muted dark blue wallpaper. It's not like a navy or anything like that. It's like a, you know, sort of middish to dark blue, and then it's got a matching there's a matching wallpaper from Growing Together that actually matches that wallpaper really well. So I think that wallpaper is Eco Lifestyle, and then the tile wallpaper is Growing Together, I think, off the top of my head. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I discovered that they were matching. And I was like, yes, that's perfect. So we've kind of got like a little seating area by a fire. We've got our kitchen, we've got our dining space, and then we've got our entrance sort of mudroom area as well. So this is, you know, a big open space, kind of, you can come in here and there's quite an assortment of things, and then you can go off to the side and you've got your living room space in through there as well. So, and then all the and there's one bathroom I think downstairs, and then there's 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms upstairs as well, and then an aquarium. I don't often put a lot of aquariums in my build, but I just felt like this was the kind of the perfect house for it, and it just really worked. And I popped a little mirror in behind there just to create a bit of a optical illusion effect, I guess. And then I used the vertical slats or the horizontal slats from the Eco Lifestyle pack, and pop some shelves on there as well. Just again, just to create like a little different look in terms of the shelving and that sort of thing. Just mixing it up a bit. And I thought that would be fun. Just throw some clutter on there and do something a little bit different. So yeah, cute little things, decorative. Just again, just clutter makes a house look more lived in. I'm not a person that will add in, you know, like a whole lot of clutter in a build. I add in clutter, but I don't like do clutter everywhere. I'm not one of those people. I really love the looks of builds that do have a lot of clutter in them, but I personally prefer like a little bit, just the way that I build, I prefer like a little bit of a cleaner look, but that's just who I am. It's not to say that I don't love those cluttery, lovely builds as well. I can just look at them and go, oh, it's just like, look at all that beautiful clutter, you know? But it's just not my building style as such. Not to say there won't be the odd build where I'll add lots and lots of clutter, but I tend to not. You know, there'll be lots of, you know, be things like this where I'll have shelves and I'll add like, you know, little bits of clutter, you know, clutter here for a specific reason. But yeah, I'm not one to just like have stacks and stacks of clutter all around the place, despite the fact that I do think it looks lovely. I do like to make sure that my builds are, you know, really playable and easy to get around as well. So, you know, I don't tend to go super cluttery. And then this is just heading into what I would say is our Grange mudroom kit. So I'm about to dig into that and add, yep, there we go, add some of that kit. I think that's going to change around a little bit. I think I'll change those shoes and those the table around probably. Yes, there we go. So this is me just trying out a few things with the kit and how I wanted to do that. But look at that, we've got like shoes and mirrors and the handbag. I love that handbag. I think that's so cute. And basically, we are getting towards the end of what I ended up building in this area. So this is just me fussing around with the wallpaper, trying to decide how I was going to make that work and, you know, that sort of thing. So just getting that whole balance thing right in that area. And I think, yeah, it came together okay. But I'm going to leave you guys there to check out the tours. I want to say big thank you for watching, and happy birthday to Vinny. I hope you enjoyed the build. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for me, leave me a like, a comment, and all of those great things. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye!